This sexual energy of surrender came up for me. This sexual energy came in my body, and it felt very strange. I judged it as something dangerous at first because it had the energy of giving up control. And I can feel the energetic boundaries that I have around myself that keep me safe, where I'm always on top of everything. I'm making sure that everything gets done. I'm thinking about finances. I'm thinking about my job. I'm thinking about all of these things that require structure, that require logic, that require discipline. And it puts me really into this masculine frame. And I felt myself release that and go into this feminine frame, which lets the masculine take care of things, take care of you. And I think that you have to surrender into that frame to let yourself be taken care of. This felt very scary, and at first I judged it as wrong and dangerous, but only because it was different from the pattern that I'm used to, the pattern that's kept me safe. There was a feeling of dependence and reliance on this other imaginary person. And that can feel scary or dangerous if you're very independent and you use that independence as a shield. And that's really great if you're with someone or around people that you don't trust. And of course, this is all based on trust. You don't want to let your guard down with someone that you don't trust or doesn't deserve your trust. And the thought came up, well, what if this person abandons me or leaves me after I put my reliance and trust in them and let this bond grow and not be emotionally cut off from them? Well, you can always find someone else. I recognized this as an avoidant pattern that was showing up in me. So I've seen other videos talk about how a woman needs to surrender in a relationship. And when we say women in this context, we mean the feminine energy, the feminine dynamic. And if you want to play the feminine role of receiving, then you do need to be able to let go of that control. If you're really stuck in that pattern where it's not safe to rely or depend on anyone else, and that might be if you had role models in your life that weren't safe to depend on, and if there's this pattern that seeks out people that aren't safe to trust or depend on, then maybe your body will give you the warning signals, don't rely on anyone else. It can be really healthy to move in dependence, but after you've individuated and developed yourself as an individual, then you're actually moving into interdependence, which is a healthy connection. You can take care of yourself, but you can also rely on someone else. And I can see how that can feel scary to this old pattern, but it can ultimately lead to my growth, being able to relax into that feminine aspect. And that can feel really good if you have someone you trust that you can rely on. And maybe, surrender isn't a good word when we don't really know what that looks like and what that feels like, but surrender in a healthy way is very different than what surrender could mean if you are letting someone bulldoze over your boundaries, someone who doesn't respect your boundaries. When you're in a survival state and you're fawning, you're letting them have their way. You're letting them do what they want because you have this underlying fear that they're going to hurt you. Surrender can be scary, but it can also be very healthy. And it can look something different than what we imagine it to look like. And there are women who live the life where they're provided for, they're adored by the partner in their lives. And to be in that state of receiving requires that energy of surrender, requires that energy of letting someone provide for you. And it is this trusting state, it is this trusting place. by feeling this energy, I realized it is an energetic dynamic, and the energy of it has to happen before it can happen in the physical world. If you have that core feminine energy, you might need to step into the energy of surrender as long as you're with someone who is worthy of that and you can trust with that, to allow that provision, that nurturing, someone taking care of all the logical, strategic, forward-thinking aspect of the dynamic. That aspect of surrender is key in that divine union, that divine alchemical dance. When you have that level of security and trust with someone, you can really go that level deeper with them.